When a person is overloaded, things fall through the cracks. It is not a character problem. It is a structure problem. I will hire when I'm ready. I want to talk about that sentence today because I've heard it from almost every founder I've ever worked with. And I've said it myself. And it sounds completely reasonable when it comes out of your mouth. It sounds responsible even, like you're being smart and strategic and intentional. But most of the time, it's not a strategy. It is a delayed tactic. And the business is paying for it every single day you wait. Today, I want to get into what is actually happening when founders stay in operator mode too long, why the right time that you're waiting for is probably never coming, and what the real cost is. Not just your schedule, but the quality of your work to your clients, and the version of your business that you are trying to build. I'm going to start with a story that I'm not particularly proud of, but I think is the most honest way I can open this conversation. I live in a gated community, and one of the features of that is that I get a notification on my phone whenever someone comes to visit my house. Notification with their name and why they're here. One afternoon, I was at the grocery store, middle of the afternoon, normal errands, and my phone buzzed. It was a client at my door for a consultation, and I was not home. I had not put it into my calendar, and I had no idea that the appointment was that day. She drove to my house for a meeting that, as far as I knew, was not happening. Here's what made it worse. This was not the first time something like that had happened. It was actually the third time. The third time I have dropped the ball in a way that affected a real client and a real relationship. Now, I want you to know something about me. Being responsible and accountable is not optional in my world. It is a core to how I operate, how I lead, and how I show up for the people that trust me. And when I tell you that situation killed me, I mean it. Not just the embarrassment. The part where I realized that my standards were slipping. The quality of my work was starting to suffer because I was carrying too much and trying to manage it all alone. That was the moment I stopped telling myself I would hire when I was ready, because I realized that the cost of waiting was already showing up. I just had not been looking at it honestly. And that is what today is about. Here's what I see all the time with founders who are doing real good numbers. 6 figures, multi-6 figures, even 7 figures sometimes. They have real clients, real revenue, real traction. And they're still running almost everything themselves. Not because they're bad at business or because they don't know how to delegate. They don't know that delegation is a thing. Because they have been telling themselves a story. And the story goes something like this. Once I have more consistent revenue, I'll hire. Once I get through this launch, I will hire. Once I figured out exactly what I need help with, I would hire. Once things calm down, I will hire. The problem is that none of these conditions ever fully arrive. Revenue gets more consistent and there's new expenses. The launch ends and the new one starts. Things calm down for a while, maybe for a week, and then life happens again. The right time keeps moving forward and you keep chasing it. Meanwhile, your business is growing, your client load is growing, your to-do list is growing, and you're the same one person trying to hold it all together. This is a capacity trap. And today I want to walk you through 4 things that are actually happening when you stay in that space for too long. The first thing I want to say is this. When founders wait to hire, they almost always frame it as it being protective of their business. Protecting their budget, protecting their quality, protecting the client experience. And I get it. I understand that impulse completely. I was there. But here's what actually happens. Every task, every decision, every approval, every client communication, every scheduling detail, it runs through you. Which means the business can only move as fast as you can move. You can only grow as much as your capacity allows. And your capacity has a ceiling. You're not protecting the business by keeping everything in your hands. You're making yourself the single point of failure. Think about what that actually looks like in practice. If you're sick, things stall. If you're traveling, things stop. If you're tired or distracted or overwhelmed, quality drops. If you're in a season of life that is demanding more of your attention, the business absorbs the impact of whatever you want it to or you don't. This is what happened to me at the grocery store. I was not lazy. I was not careless. I was overloaded. When a person is overloaded, things fall through the cracks. It is not a character problem. It is a structure problem. The question is not whether you can handle it all right now. You probably can at some level. The question is, what is costing you to do that? What is costing your clients, your team, and your business when you are trying to do everything? I want to spend some time on the second point because I think this is where a lot of founders get most stuck and the most honest with themselves. The right time is not a milestone. It is a feeling. And that feeling is tied to something that has nothing to do with your revenue or your team or your systems. It is tied to control. When you say, I will hire when I'm ready, what you're often really saying is, I will hire when I can trust that nothing will go wrong. When I can hand something off and be certain that it will be done exactly the way I would do it. And I have to say this directly, that certainly is never coming. It does not exist. Not with hiring, not with delegation, not with any part of growing a real business that involves other humans. What I see in my clients and what I experience myself is that the right time keeps getting redefined because the real issue is not the timing. It's the identity shift that hiring requires. Hiring means you're no longer the one doing it. And for high capacity founders who build something real on their own skills and their attention to detail, that is not a logistical problem. That is an identity problem, a trust problem, a worth problem. Because if you let go and still works, what does that mean? If someone else can handle things, does that change your role, your values, your place in the business? These are the real questions. And they're worth sitting with. Because until you work through them, the right time will always be 6 months from now. This episode is sponsored by the CEO Method, my proven system to help founders let go without things falling apart. Inside, you'll nail what to delegate, set a clear definition of done, and run a weekly rhythm that frees your calendar while keeping standards high. If you want a 3-day CEO schedule and a team that moves without handholding, go to accidentalceo.co/delegate-course. That's accidentalceo.co/delegate-course. People talk about the cost of not delegating in terms of time, right? And yes, your time is a real cost. The hours you spend on tasks that are not CEO level work, the decisions you're making that someone else could make, all the emails that you're scheduling and the follow-ups that are eating your week, that is real. But I think the most honest conversation is about standards. Because here's what happens when you are stretched too thin. You start letting things slip that you would never let slip if you're resourced properly. Not because you stop caring, because you're human and there's limits to what any one person can hold with full attention and full care. I dropped a client appointment 3 times. I, who prioritize accountability above most everything else in how I run my business, dropped a client appointment 3 times. That did not happen because I didn't care. It happened because I was the only one holding the system together. And when you're the only system, you are one overloaded afternoon away from failing the people who are counting on you. This is what I want founders to really hear. The cost of waiting to hire is not just your sanity in your schedule. It is your reputation. It is your client relationships. It is the gap between the experience that you want to deliver and the one you're actually capable of delivering when you are running on empty. And most founders I work with are not even aware of how wide the gap has gotten. Because when you are inside of it, you normalize it. You just push harder. We're really good at working harder. You tell yourself that you'll fix it soon. You tell yourself that it's just temporary. But if you have been saying that for more than 6 months, it is not temporary. It is your structure. And structure does not fix itself. The question worth asking yourself is this: what has already slipped that you've been too tired to even notice? This is maybe the biggest reframe I want you to live with today. Most founders treat delegation like a bonus, like something you earn once you have proven that you can handle everything yourself. Once the revenue is high enough, or once the business is stable enough. Like hiring is the prize you get for surviving the hard part. That framing is completely backwards. Delegation is not what you do after you have succeeded. It's part of how you succeed. It is part of how you get to the next level without sacrificing the capacity required to actually perform at that level. Think about what actually takes to grow a business beyond where it is right now. You need to be able to think strategically. You need to be able to see the business clearly, not just react to it. You need to be able to lead, to make good decisions, to build the right relationships, to do the work that only you can do. None of that is possible when you are answering every email and scheduling every appointment and handling every client communication and also trying to run a business. I have a saying that I come back to often. A CEO work is everything work that is not the same thing. And the longer you try to do everything, the less CEO work it actually get done. The founders who scale, who build something that actually holds together without them running it every single day, are not those who have waited into they're already. They're the ones who got uncomfortable earlier than it felt safe and built the support around them before they were drowning. You do not hire because things are going well. You hire because things need to go better. And you need your attention to be somewhere it cannot be right now. Let me bring this back together. If you have been telling yourself, I'll hire when I'm ready, I am not here to make you feel bad about that. I've said it too. I lived it. And then I got a notification on my phone that a client was standing at my front door while I was at the grocery store. And I had to get really honest with myself about what waiting was actually costing me. Here's what I want you to take from today. Number 1, staying in operator mode too long does not protect your business. It makes you the bottleneck. Number 2, the right time is not a milestone. It is a feeling tied to control, and it will keep moving until you decide to move first. Number 3, the real cost of waiting is not just your time. It is your standards, your client relationships, and the gaps between what you want to deliver and what you can actually sustain. Number 4, delegation is not a reward for success. It is a requirement for it. The founders who build something real get uncomfortable earlier than it feels safe and build support before they need it desperately. If you're sitting with this episode thinking, she is describing me, good. That clarity is the starting point. Here's exactly where I'm going to go next. I have a free resource called the 3-Day Delegation Sprint Challenge. It is linked in the description in the show notes below. This is not a passive download. It is a structured 3-day challenge designed to help you identify what you're holding that you do not need to be holding anymore and figure out what to hand off first and actually start the process of building a business that does not depend entirely on you. If today's episode landed, the sprint is where you start. Grab it on the link below. And you've been listening for a while and you know it is time to stop doing it alone, I would love to talk. A clarity hour with me is a single focus session where we look exactly at where you were stuck and what the next move is. And you can find it at accidentalceo.co/coaching. We'll see you at the next episode. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Accidental CEO podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us in the world where creativity and business strategy collide. I am Nata Salvatore, thrilled to have shared this time with you. Remember, every episode is a step closer to mastering the art of being an accidental CEO. So don't miss out. Hit subscribe, drop us a sweet review, and spread the word to your creative tribe. Your next big breakthrough could be just one episode away. Join us next time for more insights, laughs, and actionable tips. Keep pushing boundaries, dreaming big, and embracing the beautiful chaos of entrepreneurship. Here's to make magic happen in your business and beyond.